All right, y'all. Just a warning. The audio on this episode is a little whacked. I have to rely on the phone microphone because my mic cable or something's going on with some kind of contact, not making the contact that it needs to. And so that audio was pretty bugged. It was worse than what you're going to hear now. So just letting y'all know, it's going to sound a little weird. All right? Deuces. We're going to be talking Marvels. I'm doing my deep dive into what I really think about this film. I'll do my Sparks notes of my review from the previous episode. If y'all didn't watch that, go watch that. And then I'm just going to do my deep dive. Not going to talk about too much else because I went on a huge rant last episode, even about the Marvels. And don't want to do that this time. That was probably one of the longest episodes that we had last episode. So stay tuned. Hopefully it won't be that long. Social Millennial Podcast. We out here, gang. Y'all already know what it is. But for those of y'all who don't know what it is, this is the Social Millennial Podcast. Just a place where we kind of kick back. I talk about things that interest me during the week. Sometimes I'll talk movies. Sometimes I'll talk celebrity gossip. Sometimes I'll talk science and space and physics, etc. and technology. Sometimes I talk UFC, mixed martial arts, because, I really like combat sports. And sometimes I'll talk politics. Sometimes I'll talk about things that I've been dealing with emotionally and mentally during the week and in my artistry. Thank y'all for showing up, for pulling up, for being here with us. All right. Now, if you're first time, our veterans know. If y'all first time, there is, for those who are watching, there is an audio component to this podcast, so y'all don't have to come and catch the video every single time. Though it's great if y'all listen to it and pull up to the video, video presentation, because a few seconds counts as a view, and we would love to continue to grow our viewership and our audience so that we can please the algorithm gods. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're at Social Millennial Pod. That's SocialMillenialPod. 1 N. Social Millennial Pod. 1 N. If you hit the search bar on YouTube, it will be the @ symbol and write Social Millennial Pod. It'll take you directly there. If you just write Social Millennial Pod, it's going to go, are you sure this is what you meant? You sure you didn't mean this other thing? You don't have to go through that step. All right, y'all. So check that out. Now, our search would be much better optimized if y'all would just pull up and subscribe, because then, they're going to serve y'all the Social Millennial Podcast straight up. But this is what y'all got to do to see us, to find us real fast. Make sure to hit that notification bell as well. For our listeners, y'all know what to do with the visual component. For visual component, what's up with y'all watching on the YouTubes? Y'all can head over to the audio portion. We are on the audio presentation. We are on Spotify. We're on Apple Music. We're on Google Podcasts, which will be becoming folding into YouTube Music. That's going to be happening at some point. We are on, where else? Radio Public. We are on, I think you can probably find it on Deezer as well. Amazon. You can find it in a lot of places. Just search it up. If and or for those who might be old school, for those who might just be on desktop and want to play this through their big, nice, high quality speakers, you feel me? Y'all can head on over to the description of this video or the description of the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and you will be able to find either a clickable word, homepage, it'll say homepage, or a link that's under the word homepage, and you will be taken to a landing page, a homepage, if you will, of all of the audio programming. So, by all means, if y'all are on desktop, if y'all don't want to deal with any of the ads on any of the respective podcast sites or podcast platforms, you can definitely just bookmark Social Millennial Pod, marcuspena presents.libsyn, and y'all will be able to get and enjoy every single episode of this podcast in its audio form. I don't think y'all can leave comments, I don't really know, but also there you have the links to all of our social medias. We are on social media. Facebook, I know it's watched, but we're still there. Facebook, IG, and TikTok. All right, y'all. We are not on X/Twitter. It ain't it. Not because I don't like it, necessarily the platform, but just couldn't really get stuff going there. We've got a few issues with them and the accounts and so on that they just won't resolve because they seem to not have a working sort of customer service setup there. Thank you, Elon. But yes, IG, TikTok, and Facebook at socialmillenialpod, the same as the YouTube. We are the same. It's the same tag up everywhere. Socialmillenialpod. You could even Google it and probably it'll just all come up for you too. So you can just like click, follow, and do what y'all must. Thank y'all so much. The IG really features some of our clips. It's really a great place where the podcast, where the team, where we kind of just meme dump over there. So if y'all want to find some funny memes, especially NYC memes, head on over there and just follow the page. Follow it, like the stuff, comment. It's good times. Our Facebook also, if y'all don't want to like Google things, you'll be able to find links like directly to the YouTube, directly to the audio every time we do a new episode. So definitely send that. And then TikTok, we're trying to get our clips up and running, so y'all can get some of the just more spicier moments, or just more sort of Sparks Notes moments of the episodes. But there we go. We got that out of the way. Oh no, we didn't. Don't forget. If y'all want to support this channel, y'all want to support this project, the Social Millennial Podcast, which is going to be an umbrella, under the umbrella of Marcus Penny Presents. We're going to be offering a whole lot of different things coming. The Patreon's coming. Y'all can like, subscribe, review, give a star rating, follow, give a thumbs up, give a heart, comment, hit the notification bell, subscribe, all of those things where appropriate on the platform that you decide to enjoy our content on. But if you want to contribute a little bit more, because believe you me, just giving us a like, that's more than enough for us. More than enough for us. Free content that we're providing here. You know, we've got to edit this down. We've got to run sound on this. Gotta prepare for this podcast. Even though it seems like we're willy-nilly off of the cuff, there is preparation that goes on for these episodes. Just a view, just a like, just a comment, just a review. That's more than enough to support us. Absolutely. Appeasing the algorithm gods is paramount for the platform. But if you want to contribute more directly, if y'all want to see maybe better audio quality, better camera setup, because I kind of do want to do a 2-camera, 3-camera setup. If y'all want to just bless the programming, y'all can head on over to the merch shop in the description of the audio and the description of the visual. There will be a either clickable word merch shop, tappable word, or you'll see merch shop and then a link there. Hit that merch shop and get on over there. We're running 40 to 45% off on all of our merch for Black Friday. So by all means, y'all want to support, y'all want to rep, that's what y'all do. We've got t-shirts, we've got travel mugs, we've got tumblers, we've got phone cases, I think we have pens, we've got, what else? Coasters, we've got hoodies, I think we have some baby clothes, we've got sort of canvas square kind of painting things, we've got banners, by all means, we've got pillowcases, I think it's pillows though, we've got that there. So just head on over, whatever tickles you guys fancy, enjoy that. If y'all buy a hoodie, if y'all buy a t-shirt, absolutely take a picture with it and tag us on the respective social media platform at Social Millennial Pod, and be pretty cool. We'll feature y'all in the stories. We'll feature y'all on the appropriate social media platform. So absolutely do that. If y'all want to bless us a little bit more, we're going to be setting up a few ways to donate to us. Again, this is free content as it stands. It will continue to be free content. We will be offering paid content a little further down the line. With that paid subscription, you will be getting a whole lot more. Not just of the podcast. We're going to be doing bonus episodes. You'll be getting deep dive episodes. You'll be getting rant episodes. You will be getting some film reviews. We might even do watch-alongs. Like movie commentaries. Sort of setting things up. It's starting to take shape, but you're absolutely going to be getting more than your money's worth, because I'm not looking to fleece y'all. I know a lot of y'all got Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus, and it adds up. It's wild. I mean, I ended up jumping off of Disney Plus when they increased the price again. So I get it. Don't worry. We're not gonna fleece y'all with this subscription service. What we have planned, you will definitely be getting more bang for your buck. All right, y'all. So that's how you can support us. I'll also be setting up some ways to donate, like I said, through Cash App, etc., Venmo, things like that. If y'all just wanna bless the podcast. But this will remain free. I'm not asking y'all to give us money to keep these episodes going. The episodes will continue to go. We'll probably be changing studios when we get to a certain point. But here we are, up close and personal, chilling. So here we are. I believe I said in the intro what this is going to be. I kind of want to talk about Eric Adams as well, because they just announced sweeping budget cuts. Remember last week, if y'all hooked up to the episode, you know how I feel about Eric Adams as a New Yorker. We're in New York, y'all, for those who don't know. I really do not despise, this dude's not, he ain't it. I didn't like him from when he got voted in. I didn't like him from before getting voted in. I kind of had connections and I kind of knew people who knew him at various points in his life and knew him at the time, and the kind of, sort of slime that he is. So through my contacts and connections, I kind of knew who this guy was and I knew he was not going to be good for New York City. But yeah, so y'all know how I feel. He slashed the legislature, because they've got to approve these cuts. He can't just unilaterally cut budget. It's got to be approvals going on. The mayor can't just do that. But crazy sweeping cuts over the police. So at first it was just school safety officers. It's police and all kinds of other infrastructure, education. That's all getting cut back so that he can continue to run whatever damage control that he's got to run with the migrant issue. But I'm not going to go into detail with that. I kind of want to, but I'm not going to. Maybe next episode. Let me get a drink here. Let me do something. Let's get it together. But yeah, so the Marvels. I waited a week. Like, I didn't just do an extra long, crazy long episode planned out last week I didn't go into it in depth. One, because we had gone on for very long and I ranted on some other things, but hey, we're kicking back, man. We're kicking back. Sometimes things don't go according to plan. Sometimes I feel the way that I feel. And we go down a rabbit hole. This week, this episode, I'm not going to go down too much of a rabbit hole. I'm going to stay as focused as I can possibly stay. ADHD ain't going to get me today. You feel me? For those of y'all who can relate, we here with it. So, The Marvels. I wanted to like this movie, not because I thought that this movie was going to be groundbreaking or that it was necessarily going to break box office records. I kind of knew. The writing was kind of on the wall just from the trailers. It was on the wall from its production. It was kind of on the wall. It went through a whole lot of rewrites. It went through a whole lot of reshoots. I mean, this movie represents many millions of dollars. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars of loss that Disney Marvel just had to take. Just L's. Over 200 million L's. Individual. Specific. So I wasn't expecting groundbreaking. Usually when a film has so many reshoots, or I should say not so many, but massive reshoots, that means that the story didn't test well, and they had to change a whole lot of stuff. And that happened multiple times, at least twice, where they had to change the story in big ways to get it to sort of feel good / to have an impact. And even then, it didn't have a good impact. I believe I said it last episode. I'm reiterating a few things, y'all, for those who are new, who just pulled up to this episode. I absolutely have to burp. Hold on. And we're back. So, I will be reiterating some things, y'all, before I get into the nitty-gritty of sort of breaking down the film. There will be spoilers for those who haven't seen it. I wanted to give y'all time, or it worked out that y'all could have time to go see it. If y'all were going to see it, that is what was going to happen. I'm pretty positive most of y'all have not seen it because it did absolute garbage, basura, at the box office. I mean, it is the lowest grossing Marvel film of all of the Marvel films. It has the greatest drop off from the weekend, I think, or from the first week or something. It has the record for the greatest drop off of any comic book / superhero movie ever in existence. So there's that. It's basically breaking all the wrong kinds of records. So I figured y'all haven't seen it. Y'all haven't went out and spent your money on it. And I'm kind of glad that y'all did not spend money on it because it is not worth spending money. It's kind of, it feels very much so just like an episode of a Marvel show, and not so much a feature film or an event film. When they advertised this, they didn't even really tell us what this film was about. They showed us a little bit, but they kind of wanted to sell, they seemed like they desired to sell this film on the back of past Marvel films that were really good. There were some of the advertisements that were straight out or flat out misleading as to what this film was about or what the film was tied to, the story of the film. There was one advertisement which was close to release where they kind of likened it to, they linked this film to Thanos, and as if his plan was continuing, which was flat out just a lie. They edited that to really try to get people to come and see it. They had a review embargo, meaning the press who get to watch the movie in advance and get to put out their reviews to let people know to generate buzz, part of the advertising cycle of films and of media products. They could not release any of their reviews until a day before. If I'm not mistaken, it was the day before the review embargo, and that's usually not a good sign after a film has had such massive reshoots, after a lot of the issues that they had filming it, after a lot of the cast issues. Brie Larson, the word on the street was that Brie Larson, the sounds of NYC, that Brie Larson was not happy about playing third fiddle in her own film and not getting a proper Captain Marvel 2. Not happy that they changed the name and didn't call it Captain Marvel 2 when in China they call it Captain Marvel 2, and a lot of other territories it's called Captain Marvel 2. It's not called the Marvels. So she kind of gritted her teeth and bore it. But yeah, so it was not a good sign that the embargo was the day before. They kind of didn't want people to know what this movie was about because they needed as many people to come in and see it as clean and as fresh, without any baggage as possible, to try to get as much money as they can. Because word on the street is that the studio knew that this was going to be a flop. The studio knew that this was going to be a failure. And it seemed like maybe they were trying to salvage whatever they needed to salvage for the sake of furthering whatever storylines that they were furthering. But it's weird because, and by storylines that they're furthering, I mean the post-credit scenes. Or beginning of the credit scenes. There isn't a post-credit scene, there's not a mid-credit scene, it's two almost back-to-back scenes. It's strange because even with those two back-to-back end credit scenes telling us what they're going to set up, I mean, Marvel right now is sort of circling the wagons. They have since pushed all of their slate for 2024. They pushed it to 2025. So 2024, we are only going, theoretically, if things go to plan, things work to code, if things stay kosher, we're only going to be getting Deadpool 3. That's Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool with Hugh Jackman returning again. And it looks like they're going to be doing a Deadpool versus the Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. They're going to adapt that. So he's going to be jumping through time. It will have to do with Miss Minutes and the TVA. So he's going to end up being fully integrated into our Marvel Universe. But Hugh Jackman is coming back as a version of Wolverine, probably from one of the other universes. They put out set photos for that, and they're absolutely doing the yellow costume, and it's like, finally. So I think this Deadpool 3, I'm super hyped about, and I think everyone's going to be hyped about. I think Deadpool 3 is going to do very, very well, and they're keeping it as a rated R film so far. It will probably be released under like Fox Searchlight or whatever. But they are releasing it as rated R, which is cool. But they moved everything except that to 2025 Seems like Marvel is circling their wagons. We've got the issues going on with Jonathan Majors, and just the issues going on with the series of flops that they've put out, that they've churned out. Series of flops, series of just attempts at making Kang happen and making sort of whatever storyline happen and failing, just completely failing. I mean, trying to do the shows in a very haphazard way. There's just a lot of hubris happening. And so many failures, or it will take just so many failures for corporate to then go, I think we've got to circle our wagons. I think the sort of the Disneyfication, the sweatshopification that Disney does to intellectual properties and creative properties, it's kind of, it's coming back to roost. The consequences are coming to roost. And the shareholders, the investors, are realizing that, and now corporate and the board have no choice but to now address it, instead of just barreling forward with message after political message and letting certain things permeate into the universe, not caring for the quality control of the universe, not caring for the lore, not really caring for the stories, not really caring for the characters. The only really good movies that we got were from directors that really cared about the source material, that continued to care, or that were part of their own self-contained or moderately self-contained storylines, a la Spider-Man trilogy, because No Way Home was on point, was fire. And what other one was really good? Some people will say that Doctor Strange was good, but that's not good. It was not good. What else was good? Oh, right. It was the Spider-Man trilogy, which is its semi-self-contained, and the... Gosh darn it, where is it? It's in my mind. I've watched all of these films. And Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn's final Guardians of the Galaxy with Marvel. Final film with Marvel. Those two were good. Everything else was some level of mid. Mid to trash. And that's counting the shows. WandaVision was good. Loki season 1 was good. I'm hearing Loki season 2 is good. I have not seen it yet. I am going to and give y'all my. I'm going to give y'all my thoughts. But after that, it was just mid. Hawkeye, I liked personally, but it was still kind of mid. She-Hulk was trash, garbage. And I like She-Hulk, and I wanted She-Hulk to work, especially since they were trying to integrate Daredevil and Matt Murdock, and I figured they were going to do some kind of romantic thing. I wanted it to be really cool. But no, it just kept getting worse. The sort of sweatshop nature of Disney just kept destroying and watering down the quality of the Marvel content in a similar way that happened with Star Wars. It is absolutely watered down. The whole lore is absolutely screwed up, because they want them to keep putting stuff out. They're trying to get eyes. So this film, the Marvels, I didn't expect to be like groundbreaking, though it could have, anything could have happened. But what I was excited about was something different. What I was excited about is maybe Brie Larson finally getting some kind of character to chew on, like given something in the writing, given something. A different director now, Nia DaCosta, if I'm not mistaken, that's her name. Different director, maybe can direct her and let her act, let her be a character. The first film was just, garbage, hot garbage, in every way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. There are people that somehow like that film. Hot garbage. This is not as hot garbage, but I'm glad that for those of y'all who did not spend your money on this film, I'm glad that y'all didn't. Like I said, it isn't worth it. It's more akin to a show, a Marvel show, than it is to an event film. Let's go into it now. Full spoilers. I might even talk about how we can that there can kind of be some fixes to kind of make what existed there work. But I still think that the overall idea of what the plot ended up becoming, considering it's stitched together from different iterations of the script that were completely different stories, I still think that whatever plot that they ended up with, even if it was executed better, maybe might not. It's not the most compelling. So whatever fixes that I might have, I don't think it would turn it into a Captain America Winter Soldier. I don't think it would turn it into an Avengers 1 or an Iron Man 1. But it definitely wouldn't be as trash. We would take it from hot garbage to mid. Because at least if Marvel can get mid, there can be some case to keep enriching the Captain Marvel Carol Danvers character so she could build into a fire character. But if you're working from hot garbage, it's tough. It's tough. But let's get into it. So this movie, I think I'm going to go scene by scene to the best of my ability. This movie opens with all three of our characters. Photon, Monica Rambeau, is now working for Saber. Saber, for those who don't know, who didn't watch the film, it got teased in the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel, if I'm not mistaken. Captain Marvel 1. I could be wrong, but it's a scene where we're on a space station and there's Skrulls walking around manning as the crew of the space station, and then this dude, Nick Fury, comes out of a thing like he's on a beach and gets up and then walks to the window or whatever, and basically they're on the space station. So it was a cool little tease for Saber. Saber is an evolution of Shield and Sword. So it started with Shield, then it became Sword, which was a little bit more forward operating than Shield, and then more militaristic forward operating. And Saber then just takes it into space. So we've got a space station now above Earth, orbiting Earth. Nick Fury is up there. It's a whole crew. It's a whole thing. Monica Rambeau works for them, which is great because they had grounded everybody to do Earth-based anomalies after the snap and a few other incidences. And Monica Rambeau was really trying to get into space, so now she can get into space and do her thing. She's there, able to use her powers. Uses a flight suit or a astronaut suit, a spacesuit in the beginning of the film, and then evolves into not using one in space. But we open with all three of our characters. Carol Danvers is on her ship alone. Really interesting looking ship. Let me say there were some really creative visuals that they did for this. The spaceships, all of the different technologies, pretty cool. I liked the builds. I like the looks, the designs of everybody's different spaceships. Saber kind of looks okay, but I think they could have made it cooler. But we open with all three of them. Miss Marvel is in her room drawing. We get a really cool opening. Some people didn't like it, but I thought it was super cute to sort of kind of get us into the mind of who Miss Marvel is, considering most people didn't watch that show, so they have to do recaps. So you're gonna find in this movie that they did a lot of recaps so that people could kind of know what was going on, could kind of get caught up. Because Captain Marvel 1 was so far years ago, people don't really know who Captain Marvel is. So far years ago, she was in the one movie, a little bit of Endgame, and then that's it. We didn't see her again in any of the movies since then until now. So yeah, all three of them, they do a cool animated sequence of her drawing. It's like in her daydream, drawing pictures of her and Captain Marvel. She's a super fan of Captain Marvel. I'm not going to go into my critique super yet, because man, this film, if you turn your brain off, you can kind of just sit down and enjoy the ride and then forget about it once you leave the theater, kind of a deal, and just kind of be like, oh, that was okay. The second that you begin to think about the movie, it falls apart. I mean, the first thought will destroy the plot of this film. We're going to get there, though. So she's got her own animated thing going on, to a sequence to open up for her character. And then you've got Monica Rambeau. They notice in space a jump point, which humans are now... They can now deal with jump points, which we never got any kind of like stepping stone into how we got to being able to deal with that technology. Wild to me. Now these jump points are the same jump points that we see in Guardians of the Galaxy films. How they sort of like hyper jump to different parts of space. It's the technology that we see from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like these honeycomb-shaped hexagonal panels, and you can jump through. It's wormholey. They try to make it look cool. Folds time and space so that you can get from one point to the next very, very fast. And so many problems with it, though, even in universe. So there's one that had opened up, but seemed like it wouldn't close properly. And Captain Rambo, Monica Rambo, was out there doing some kind of maintenance with 2 other crew members of Saber on the outside of the space station. And they were like, oh, we're probably not going to have time to go and check out what that anomaly is, why it won't close. And they were like, oh, but someone with superpowers could do it. And so Monica Rambo goes to fly over and see what the heck that is, get the readings so they could study it. Then Captain Marvel is on her ship, and the opening of that portal was triggered. That jump point, it seems to have been triggered, or seems to be, it not closing seems to be the result of our main villain, who is on a moon that I don't remember the name of, who was there looking for the bangle, the other bangle, the other bracelet, that the partner bracelet to Miss Marvel's bracelet that she uses. For those who don't know, she has powers to turn light into matter, into solid matter. That's her powers. She's not super duper strong. She can kind of create platforms. She kind of can do the big fist, etc. Do a big fist, and it looks like big crystalline things. And Miss Marvel in her show is part of. She's a mixed baby who is mixed with another race of people that left to another dimension. They live in another dimension. And so these people made the bracelet, and her grandmother sent it to her, and that's how her story goes. And she eventually develops and becomes a hero from those powers. But there's something going on within her DNA anyway, and so she may be able to use the powers without the bracelet. But so our main villain, Dar-Ben is the name, who is Kree. For those who don't know, Kree is the world that Captain Marvel came from her film, where when her memory was gone, she fought with the Kree army. She was part of the Kree army. That's what that movie picks up. If you all want another reference for Kree, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Ronan the Accuser, if y'all remember, he was the bad guy from 1, the guy with the big hammer, that talked super dramatically. And he was with the Power Stone, put the Power Stone in the hammer, and became super, super powerful. He was in league with Thanos, but betrayed Thanos. He's Kree. He's an accuser. So she's Kree, and they tracked down the bracelet. She broke through the whatever case that it was, found it, put it on, looked for the other one, but it wasn't there. She's like, gosh darn it. And they're like, yo, maybe we can power up the one that you have, and you'll be able to still do what you need to do. She was like, okay. So she used her hammer to power up the bracelet that she has, and then did a thing and opened a jump point where they were at to then jump to wherever they wanted to go to. That jump point was unstable and created a surge through the jump point network. It's a whole network of jump points. Through the whole network of jump points, and she, in doing that, we get that weird jump point that wouldn't close by Earth, where Monica Rambeau is going to go do the readings, and Nick Fury calls Captain Marvel to go check out that unstable jump point. She realizes it's a jump point. She sees the thing broken up. She doesn't know what the heck is going on. Ends up touching the jump point. Monica Rambeau's touching the jump point, which is out of character. Doesn't make any sense. She gets mesmerized or something, like it's the One Ring. It's so weird. It's out of character for her. Touches it. Captain Marvel touches it, and it activates Miss Marvel's bracelet. Who, remember, she's sitting down drawing her drawings in her room in Jersey City, and it switches them. It bodily, that the energies bodily switch, make them switch places. Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and so everybody's in the different locations. in the locations that the other one was in. So Captain Marvel is in Jersey City. Monica Rambeau is on the moon that Captain Marvel was at investigating what was going on, and this girl, Miss Marvel, is in Monica's spacesuit. So we get a cool little comedic thing, which you saw in the trailers. Her like, oh my gosh, Nick Fury, whoa, what am I doing here? Oh my god. I like her reactions. Iman Vellani, the actor, oh my gosh, she kills in this film. She's the best part of this film. For me, she's the best part of this film. She just seems like she's so happy to be there, and she's really like just going all in with her roles. Her reactions are great. Her acting is great in terms of her acting just like a fangirl, like just like I'm a hero, and I can't wait to meet all of the other heroes that are so great to her. So that happens. They end up switching again. It's just a whole thing. They run with that trope for the rest of the film. So they're switched around. Captain Marvel's there. We see Miss Marvel's family. She's like, oh hey, then goes outside the place to use her powers, and then they switch again. And Iman Vellani switches, etc., etc. Fighting takes place with Captain Marvel. They switch again. I'll go to the moment where you get fighting and enemies in Miss Marvel's house, etc. It's a whole thing. Not gonna go super into it. We're gonna get through the plot quick, because I'm gonna talk about a few things. But hilarity ensues, action set piece ensues, and we get a weirdo. It's a weirdo thing between Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, where Captain Marvel doesn't want to talk to Monica because she's afraid it's been so long. Same thing with Monica doesn't want to talk to her. Like there's some unspoken beef that they have that they're both upset about, or at least that Captain Marvel is ashamed of coming to come talk to her. She wants to talk to Monica at the right time, because if y'all remember, she met Monica when Monica was a little girl in Captain Marvel 1 and promised that she would come back, etc. So they end up talking to each other, and it's a thing, and it's like, oh, it's kind of awkward but weird, and their family, Aunt Monica, Aunt Carol, and Miss Marvel's family is like, oh, they don't look like they're related, and the wife goes, families are complicated, like it just is what it is. Anyway, the lull in the fighting happens. Miss Marvel is somewhere else on the ship with Moose / Goose, the Flurgan that looks like a cat, kind of helping her fight these guys where Captain Marvel was, and they remember that Captain Marvel's there. Miss Marvel goes out to the back of the house, after having a conversation with Monica and Nick Fury, etc., and Miss Marvel's family, talking about we're interlinked. It's some kind of quantum physical link or whatever. So when we use our powers, we switch, and then Captain Marvel remembers, oh man, that means this girl is where I was at. So she goes outside. She's like, I'm trying to activate my powers. So she goes and flies up to switch the powers again, so that the girl can get out of harm's way. When I tell you that plan was trash, because she flies mad high into the air to power up enough, use her powers enough that it will switch them. Like, was she thinking that Rambeau was going to switch places with her, and Miss Marvel was going to end up at her house, at Miss Marvel's house? Because Miss Marvel ended up all the way in the sky, and then Monica Rambeau had to figure out how to fly to go get her. Now they had a great scene in that moment. I think they showed it in the advertisements, where Nick Fury is like, "Black girl magic, go," because he's like, you better go catch her, or she's not gonna make it to high school, make it past high school. And Monica Rambeau was like, I don't know, I can fly a little bit, but I'm not that good. Well, you better figure it out. They have a really cool exchange. Nick Fury is really relegated to giving funny one-liners and just being sassy, and I kind of just like it, because it seems like they just let Sam Jackson be Sam Jackson. And it's weird that people are like, oh, it's trash, it's this, because he's a cool character. But even in Avengers 1, he had sassy moments and was able to sort of be a badass and have comebacks. Even then, so it's kind of weird that they didn't. And even in Spider-Man Far From Home, he had some sass. I just like that it's turned up to 11, because the plot has to move so fast that we're not going to get time with him anyway. So give him that. Let him be that. But he tells her, black girl magic, go. I love that moment. It's really cool. It's really funny. So she ends up going, saving this girl, saving Miss Marvel. They end up, do they end up in the same place in her house? No, they don't end up in the same place in her house. Captain Marvel goes and fights these guys. And she's there fighting through, and then ends up switching with Miss Marvel again. And this time Miss Marvel is on the ship where she's fighting. And she's basically already there fighting Dar-Ben and her forces. Which is like, how? I'm telling you, this film has been stitched together from many different stories. So there's a lot of things that happen in this film that are like, how, why? And I'm pretty sure that Miss Marvel, she's in her super suit when she switches, and then when she switches back, she's in her super suit, and then when she ends up switching and going to where Captain Marvel is on Dar-Ben's ship, she's not in her super suit anymore. And then comes back and falling out of the sky, not in her super suit, and then switches again and ends up back on Dar-Ben's ship, but this time captured. And Monica Rambeau is there with her, and they're just captured. And then inexplicably, right, Captain Marvel flies from Earth to Dar-Ben's ship, like just flies solo dolo and pulls up, and somehow, first of all, great distance away, and in moments, and somehow doesn't trigger them to switch. So again, these are plot points, these are situations, these are mechanics that are stitched together from other scripts and other versions of the movie that were filmed. So one of the big problems of this film is that it's been reshot to hell, and the editors had to kind of get this thing to be some kind of something. The film in use was 2 hours and change, and it didn't test well before they released it, so they cut it down to like an hour and change. It's one of the shortest Marvel films, if not the shortest, and it still didn't test well. So in that cutting it short, I mean, you can see the seams of different scripts and different movies, of different storylines, different plot points that get dropped, different things that they shot that they just kind of stitched together and tried to make it work. So somehow she went from Earth to where Dar-Ben's ship is, wherever that is, and Dar-Ben's ship, where Dar-Ben at the time, yeah, I have to do that positionally. Dar-Ben at the time, her ship is at a Kree colony, a Skrull colony, and she's like negotiating with them being peaceful and so on and so forth, but she's looking for a reason to kind of screw them over, because then we learn about what her motivation is, but we'll get there. So she's there. So when they all end up in the same place, Monica and Miss Marvel get captured on Dar-Ben's ship, and then somehow Captain Marvel flies from Earth all the way to where they are. How she can go that fast is crazy, and if she can travel that fast, why doesn't she do it any of the other points of the film? Because it would have saved so much weirdness of the film. They should have just stuck with that, how fast she can travel. But she traveled all that distance at max power, I guess. Speed of light to get there, faster than speed of light to get there, because they're plenty of light years away. Could she can do a jump point on her? Like, it's just weird. Because she doesn't even jump point and then jump out of her ship and then go into their ship. She just kind of shows up, like flying. So it's like, well, what? Anyway, all three of them ends up there. They're where the scroll thing is. So all three of them ends up there where Captain Marvel pulls up and then saves the other two girls. And then her and Monica go down to the thing to save the people, to deal with the Skrulls. And Miss Marvel, she can't fly, so Captain Marvel comes back. It's a cute. That's another cute moment. She comes back like, come on, because Miss Marvel was gonna like start talking to the bad guys, like, I can't really fly. You guys have like a ship or something that I could think. She started talking to them, and it was a quiet moment, which was great. It was a great moment. And Captain Marvel comes back. Is like, hey, don't talk to them. They're the bad guys. And then grabs her and then goes and grabs her to go fly with her. Very nice. There are these little contained moments that are really like, this is what I came for. Like, I want the interactions. I want the characters to develop in some kind of way. I want Brie Larson to be able to be given something to do, to be able to engage into the character that she's being given, as opposed to playing it like a plank of wood in Captain Marvel 1, and in in Endgame. So yeah, they end up on the surface. Dar-Ben then enacts her plan, where she sort of uses Captain Marvel's involvement with what's happening to then be like, oh, y'all are double-crossing the Skrulls. I thought we could have peace, but the Annihilator, this is when they call her the Annihilator, and that comes back around. That's the plot point. The Annihilator, even listen to the Annihilator, has messed it up. Then they tell Carol, the Skrull leader guy, like, we didn't need your help, etc., etc., as if there was more film where she interacted with the Skrull leader to try to deal with Dar-Ben, right? So he says that as if there's more to it, but this is the first time that he's seeing her in the film that they're interacting. So it's like, did you somehow in the past, like what was that? What was that? She wasn't even trying to intervene in what y'all were doing. According to what the plot of the film is, she had no idea what Dar-Ben was up to at that moment. Just Dar-Ben's ship happened to be there at that Skrull thing. She had no idea. So you see, there must have been a place where there was more film that justified his reaction to her, but it doesn't exist in the film at all. So she uses that as an excuse to open up, use her thingy again, the one bangle, the one bracelet, to open up another wormhole, another jump point, to then begin to suck out the air from that planet. It caused all kinds of destruction in the refugee colony. A lot of people died. They had to run and hurry up and save people. And then we get another nice moment because they don't have escape ships or anything, the leader says. So like, people were just gonna die. Like, it was just what it was gonna be. Which is weird too, because it's like, if y'all are Skrulls, and according to the lore of the MCU, the Kree are trying to exterminate the Skrulls, and the Skrulls are kind of refugees scattered across the universe, the galaxy, without a place to call home, a single place, and you know that the Kree are after you, you know it could go left at any moment. Why would you not have an escape plan set up as the leader of these people? That didn't make zero strategic sense. Anyway, so it's not logical. So they don't have any things. So Captain Marvel, Monica, and Miss Marvel have to start saving people, putting them into Captain Marvel's ship. So Captain Marvel's ship is there. So we're like, okay, so she must have taken a jump point from Earth to then go from Earth, get on her ship, take a jump point to take a series of jump points. Because again, this is where it breaks the lore. There's no quality control here. In Guardians of the Galaxy, it establishes, I don't remember if it's one or if it's two, no, it's both of them. It establishes that they have to, similarly to the original trilogy of Star Wars, they have to take time to plot out a course to get to where they're going to get to. And it takes time to get to where they're going to get to if it's very far away, because you have to take a series of jump points to get far away in the galaxy, to the other end of the galaxy. So you got to plot it. It's a very delicate type of a thing, calculations, etc. Same thing with the hyperdrive in the original trilogy of Star Wars. It takes time sometimes to get to certain places, even using hyperspace. In Guardians 2, Rocket and I forgot the other dude's name, the other Ravager's name that ends up taking Yondu's thing, has to get across to the rest of the team as soon as possible after escaping from Taserface or whatever, after stopping all of that. And they have to take a crazy amount of jump points to get there as fast as they possibly can so they can help their friends, right? And the two of them are like, this is going to be crazy because people haven't jumped like this before. And it shows them going through a whole bunch of different ones to try to get there as fast as possible. And it actually does things to their bodies. It's an interesting moment, which that movie was good. It wasn't the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but it was still good. It was better than this film. So I'm saying that to say, the lore is set up that you can't just get somewhere super fast using the jump points all the time, especially if you're really far away. And it does something to you to jump through a whole bunch of things. Now she is Captain Marvel, it's right, but the amount of time, it was moments. She didn't show up with her ship, like I said, and like came down like that and then hopped out of it. She just bolted in to save Monica and Miss Marvel from Dar-Ben's people on Dar-Ben's ship. But all of a sudden, her ship is now here. Right. So again, there's seams here of story that sets certain things up that doesn't exist in the movie. That got put on the cutting room floor because they shortened the film, trimming the fat, but I mean it probably made it worse. It's a less cohesive story. Things are just kind of happening one after the other, just going on, going without being able to sit in any moment, so that, you know, don't think about it too hard type of a deal. Similar to what happened with The Rise of Skywalker for Star Wars. That was the worst, in my opinion, the worst of the three films of the sequel trilogy, in that it was just a whole lot of things going on, a whole lot of things happening as fast as possible. It's like, don't think about it. Don't pause and think about it, because if you pause and think about it, the whole plot's gonna fall apart. So similar thing here. So they're saving people. Carol says, but no powers, right? So all this stuff is falling, all this thing. There's a big jump point in the sky, seemingly sealing the air, and they're saving people. And Carol tells Miss Marvel, get in the ship, get in the thing, do the thing. And she's like, I gotta save people, right? And so they're both in the ship, Monica and thing. They filled up Captain Marvel's ship, which is very little. It's meant for one person. And they're like, where is this girl? And she's out there still and looking to like save more people, but then starts using her powers and they start switching. But she was like, we gotta save them, we gotta this. And Captain Marvel tells Miss Marvel, we have to save who we can. And the way that Miss Marvel reacts to that is very great, because she is a fangirl of heroes. She has a preconceived notion of what being a hero feels like, or what being a hero is. And she's now being faced with she was then being faced with what the reality of heroics are. And sometimes you can't save everybody. You know, and also Captain Marvel is not perfect. But that was a really nice emotional beat right there in all of that chaos. And then she like comes and jumps into the ship and stuff, and they end up leaving, and all the people die. And so, but do we get a moment for that? Do we get to sit in that thought process, in her challenge, to Miss Marvel's own sort of naivete, her own preconceived notions of what being a hero is, and her own fangirling and sort of placing on a pedestal this Captain Marvel hero? Do we get to sit with that? Do we get to explore that changing and that development, and how that all affects how she relates to Captain Marvel, etc.? Absolutely not. We say that, we have that beat, now we're on the ship, and they don't have quote unquote nowhere to go, but they do say thank you, and then Captain Marvel says she just comes in and says she talked to Nick Fury, and this girl from Valkyrie from New Asgard is going to pull up and take them to bring them to New Asgard. Why they could not have just brought them to New Asgard in the first place is beyond me. Why they couldn't find another place for them to live is beyond me. Beyond me. It's very strange to me. Logically. And so she pulls up with the Bifrost, and and then, which is also a weird thing, because I have not ever noticed in the MCU that the Bifrost could take you to a moving object. I don't think there's ever been. And when I mean a moving object, I mean like a ship. Because, you know, all the celestial bodies are in orbit or something in space, or going from planet to planet or star or whatever. It's like everything's moving. But on a ship, I've never seen that before. As far as I can tell, we have no Bifrost that happens there. They use the Bifrost to travel to different places, points in the Nine Realms, fixed points in the Nine Realms. So that's another lore-breaking thing. Like, this is not how that mechanic works. But reshoots. We gotta get these people off. So she comes, has a little girl power moment with Captain Marvel, talking about you can stand tall without standing alone, and they hug each other. Women comforting each other, which is fine. Wasn't anything egregious or like weird or like shoving anything down your throat. It was fine. And so she takes them, and Miss Marvel goes, "Don't worry, Captain Marvel's gonna fix this. I promise." Very weird that she would say something like that after they just had to take an L. After Captain Marvel took a huge L at the Kree colony. I mean, at the Skrull refugee colony, all those people dying. Again, disjointed. After already having some of the glass break on what it is to really be a hero, she's then going to still have an unwavering sense of loyalty or unwavering sense of idealism for Captain Marvel. After Captain Marvel kind of just said something to her that was very much so out of character for what's in Miss Marvel's head about what Captain Marvel, or about the way that Captain Marvel would act or would be. Disjointed script. So Captain Marvel reacts to that, but then doesn't say anything about it. Like, doesn't check her. She reacts to it, and then, or I don't even think there's a reaction. She just says that. Miss Marvel says that, and then that's it. There's no like, why would you say that to them? Like, you don't know what it is to be a hero. Like, at that moment, when they leave, the Skrulls leave on the Bifrost with Valkyrie, that's the moment to get the debrief about what happened. Like, oh my gosh, what is this? Oh my gosh, what is that? Like, how could you say that to me? Like, why couldn't we save any of those people? Like, why didn't you even want to save those people? Like, we could have got an emotional moment from Miss Marvel as a young person, as a teenager, trying to process how these people died and feeling like the blood is on her hands because she couldn't save all of them. I mean, what a moment that could have been for acting. Do we get it? No, absolutely not. Hurry up, we gotta go to the next thing. We gotta move this along. We have to get people in and out of this film before they could think about what's happening in the plot. So they leave. Then we get a scene where Monica helps Captain Marvel to fix a thing on the ship that she's replacing, and then they have their little talk about Monica somehow holding some kind of grudge because Captain Marvel didn't come back when she told her when she was a little girl she was going to come back. Like, nigga. And somehow Captain Marvel feels some kind of guilt for not coming back and so on and so forth. Doesn't tell her why she didn't come back and all this jazz. But it's like, dog, she's Captain Marvel. She had stuff to do. You were a little kid. She didn't have time to come all the way back. She had to save planets. She had to help the galaxy. She's a celestial hero. She's not gonna come back, dude. Grow. Yes, your mom is her best friend. She'll come back eventually. She'll meet up with her eventually. It's okay. So somehow Monica's held this grudge for so long, and she's an adult and hasn't gotten or developed to the point in her own character, in her own mind, to be like, well, she is a hero, and heroes, maybe she couldn't come back. Maybe there's reasons. Let me not get too upset about it. Maybe when I see her again, because I will see her again eventually, maybe, she's going to tell me the reason why. And I don't have to be that upset. But no, they manufacture this weird tension between them that shouldn't really exist because they're both adults. They're not little kids. Now, it would make sense if Monica Rambeau was Miss Marvel's age. Teenager. Hormonal, impetuous, naive. No, Monica Rambeau's not that. So it's like, what the heck? So they have their little back and forth, their little thing, their little tiff, and then Miss Marvel changes into another change of clothes because she was already in straight clothes, but now she's back in PJs. Captain Marvel's like, yeah, get comfortable, and then Captain Marvel whips out these sort of torture device things. Skrull torture devices? I think she calls them Kree torture devices, but in the lore, in Captain Marvel 1, it was the Skrulls that were going into her mind to thing, and it's supposed to be the same type of technology. So that's another thing that comes in that maybe breaks the lore a little bit. And so then they breaks the lore a little bit, and so then what else goes on? Right. So then they put these things on. It makes them like a mind meld because they want to find out what Darvin's doing, And so they all lay out. She has like 3 of them. They put it on their thing, and it sort of creates a mind meld where they can kind of see memories through each other's perspective, because Miss Marvel saw their star maps and their maps in the bridge to see what, but she can't read star maps. So they do the mind meld so that Captain Marvel could look into her mind and Monica Rambeau, and they could see through Miss Marvel's eyes what she saw to then read the star map that she saw, which is a great idea. I think it was a cool little tidbit. But of course, disjointed film, cobbled together. Great little tidbit we could have lived in there. But then Captain Marvel starts going a little haywire with her memories because she's still trying to get some of her memories back. And we get Captain Marvel's backstory about from part 1. So we see images of things, how she got her powers, and then the events of part 1. And then we see when Monica was snapped away, when Thanos snapped everybody, Captain Marvel came back to be with her mom, Maria Rambeau, who was dying of cancer. And she had left Goose with Maria Rambeau, I think, or had left her before, and then took Goose back. And Maria Rambeau was telling her to come back, keep the house, until Monica comes back, because she had faith that she was going to come back after being snapped. And so Monica couldn't handle that. They ended up coming out of the mind meld, and Monica's flustered, and Monica's like, yo, you weren't there. My mom died. I was snapped away. All this jazz, and Miss Marvel's learning this for the first time, and Monica's super sad. And then a really great moment in the film, really cool, because I really like this. I like this idea. Miss Marvel immediately, with her sad face, goes and hugs Monica to comfort her. Doesn't say anything, just goes and hugs her. And then motions for Captain Marvel to come and hug her too. And they have a girl hug together to kind of like, comfort. Then they separate, and, thanks, I needed that, etc. And so they then got real quick to work. We don't get to live in that moment super long. And then we get like Miss Marvel wants to name this girl Monica, but it doesn't stick. She says a few names that are deep cuts in Marvel. Then she calls them the Marvels, Miss Marvel. And then they take the information that they learned, look at the maps, figure out the next logical place that that this person's gonna go, Darben. And it's a planet that's full of water, because it seems like Darben is sucking elements out of thin air. He's sucking elements from the planets because she was taking air, and then that forced this girl, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, to then say why she didn't want to come back to see Monica, and that was because she blames herself for a civil war that happened on Kree, on the Kree planet of Hala, that then because they civil warred, they killed their son. Their son is dying. They killed the air. The air is no longer breathable. They killed the atmosphere, and they killed all their water supply. So now there's no water. So Hala is almost uninhabitable, but the people are still trying to survive there. She blames herself because she went back after the events of Captain Marvel 1 and thinking that she was liberating the people from the same artificially intelligent, the Supreme Intelligence that ruled the planet. It was the Supreme Intelligence that was their leader, an AI, that had kept her powers under wrap and sort of manipulating her in Captain Marvel 1. She went back there to Hala and destroyed it. And then just kind of bounced. Destroyed it and bounced. And then they just, off of that, they did a civil war because there's no leader of the planet and so on. Really, she's not to blame for their civil war. She's not to blame for their atmosphere being jacked and the water and the air, etc., and the sun dying, because that is a byproduct of their civil war, of them fighting against each other in the power vacuum of the AI being gone. Captain Marvel's like, well, if I didn't destroy it, then they wouldn't be that way. Yeah, kind of, but if the Kree are the Kree, why can't they unite? Why can't they have a government that functions? That's not Captain Marvel's fault. But somehow they want us to believe that Captain Marvel feels a heavy weight. And so that's why she didn't come back to Monica, she says, because she didn't want to come back like a failure. It's like, girl, are you kidding me? You between that time you did mad stuff, and then she didn't even attempt to fix the problem on Hala. We didn't get any talk of her going back and trying to quell the civil war, trying to help them install a government, trying to re-energize their son, we get no talk of that. But somehow she blames herself, didn't want to come back a failure. Like, was it going to fix itself? So you were just going to, for forever, never come back and talk to Monica for that reasoning? Again, cobbled together script, illogical. So they learn that Monica understands. They look at the star maps. Where's the next to go? Oh, she's probably attacking planets that mean something to me because they call Captain Marvel the Annihilator, the Kree, because she came and destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. So now she was known as the Annihilator. And so they're going to a planet that I care about. So it's full of water because they need water. So she like says it weird, like, oh, it's like 95% water. And Monica's like, wow, you know a lot about this planet. You've been there before? She's like, yeah, I've been there before. And the two girls pick up on like, why do you say that so weird? Like, what's going on? Like, yeah, you're being weird. She's like, no. So then they're going to go, and she's like, oh, I'm going to wear this headdress because I'm kind of famous here. It's a thing. And they're like, okay. So they go, and this is a planet that is, they communicate with singing in song, right? So they introduce her in song, it's a whole thing, and then she tells them, or they realize, because they call her princess, the princess from the stars. And so then she spills the beans that she had to marry the prince there as sort of like a political thing because it's a matriarchal society. And in order for him to run things, he needs to have a princess. And so that's what she did. She's like, we're mutual, we're friends, it's cool, but it was just like a political thing. I'll come and visit him sometimes. She comes to visit him, keeps up the ruse, and then goes off and back to the stars and does what she does, and the people understand that she's from the stars. So she goes. And so, a little bit of hilarity ensues with the singing, and then the prince comes, or I should say, they do the introduction, they get on the elevator, and they have another cool moment where the three of them are interacting with each other like, oh, a princess, oh, and it's a cool thing. I really like those moments. I'm gonna talk about why I like these specific moments in aggregate, because it's all a sort of, it's a thing that I wanted from this film, specifically, that I really hoped that they explored, because we haven't gotten this in superhero films in general. We haven't gotten this in Marvel films. So they go up the elevator. They go to see the prince because they have to let him know that Dar-Benn is coming. That y'all got to get to battle stations. We got to be ready to fight these people because Dar-Benn's coming any minute. And so she gets up there. They do another sing song and dancing, announcing her arrival. Then the prince shows up, and she magically gets a gown because they're just wearing regular clothes, pants and shirts and stuff. A gown to go and deal with the prince and dance with him and sing, which is a kind of a cool little moment because Brie Larson was a singer first. She wasn't an actress. She was a singer trying to, be a pop star, and then moved into voice acting. She was a bunch of characters, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, pretty cool, and then went into on screen. And so she gets to use her pipes, which is nice, it's fine. And the prince is Asian. I forget if the actor is Korean or Chinese or Japanese or something, but it was kind of a scandal with the film because they cut out of his part, and in that part of the world he was marketed heavily, like he was in the marketing heavy as if he was going to be a bigger character in the entire film to get the Asian market, and he wasn't. So they were very upset. So the drop off over there was crazy too. Watching this film, the public really felt duped to come to this film because one of their big stars is in it, and he's the big star starring, and he's in it for 5 minutes, maybe less than that, less. So she goes to the thing, they have a little dance, and she's singing a conversation with him about what's happening. We need to get out of here. We need to get mobilize your military. It's going to be okay because all three of us are here. We're all powerful, etc. We can help defend this place. And then he stops and dancing, and then starts talking to her, like, really? Oh my gosh! And then they're like, hey, he can talk. He can speak like us. And she's like, yeah, he's bilingual. Okay. And so then she tells him, can we get, they're coming, but we gotta get ready. Ready yourself, and can we get some clothes that kind of are more battle ready? Which is weird to me because Monica has her clothes that she could use, and she becomes translucent I mean, she becomes invisible. She can become transparent. She can become transparent, and she can phase through things. So it's like, does she really need like any kind of battle ready costume? She can't just go back to the ship and get what she was wearing. Clearly not. And Captain Marvel already has a costume, so it's weird that she would come without her costume. So this was an excuse to work in new clothes for everybody. And then when I tell you, trash. The only person whose new suit for this film is good is Monica Rambeau. Miss Marvel, trash. We just need her original suit because it looked nice. They added all kinds of stuff to it, like Marvel does. Marvel always messes up their suits because they want to be all with lines and all these other gold accent and color on the thing. It was whack. And then Captain Marvel, I liked her suit coming into this film, her first suit, because it had bold enough colors, it had her sleeves rolled up, she had the gloves, like, she looked like she meant business. It was form-fitting, it looked good. But then her new suit looks like cosplay. Her new suit looks like it doesn't even fit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It looks like it belongs in the Snyderverse. It's very dark, it's textured, like Henry Cavill's Superman suit. I mean, muted colors. It belonged in Man of Steel. It belonged in Batman vs. Superman. It did not belong in this film. Next to Captain Marvel, next to the other two, looks like she does not belong at all. But anyway, they have their suit. Dar-Benn shows up. They start having a battle because Dar-Benn wants to open her portal to suck out the water. She opens the portal. They fight her. And it's a whole problem. It's a whole issue. Oh, and then let me go back. Before they got to the water planet, they had a little montage where the three of them started training for their switching with their powers. And it was a cute little montage. It was fine. It was fine. I think it should have existed. It's justified. So that when they fight, they could kind of predict where they're going to be and what position they're thinking. So they fight with Dar-Benn and Dar-Benn's forces. Miss Marvel's scarf can whip people and hurt people. That was weird. It just didn't. It was dumb. And so they're trying to the idea is that they were trying to distract Dar-Benn so that they could take her hammer from her and be able to get the bangle from her, the bracelet, to separate them because she's like overpowering. They're like overpowering it. There's also a mid scene between all these things where Dar-Benn's on her ship and her chief guy is telling her, we're powering up this bracelet, but it's unstable and it's gonna open unstable jump points, and that's not good. Give us some more time before you enact your plan so we can figure out how to use it safely. So you don't get hurt, so we don't hurt the universe, etc. And she's like, no, I don't got time. So we get that too, and that's a setup for something later. So they fight with Dar-Benn. They are not effective. They take another L. Dar-Benn notices that Miss Marvel has another bracelet that has the sister bracelet, so the one that she has. So now she's like, oh man, I gotta get it. And they end up taking the L. They end up jumping on Captain Marvel's ship, bringing Captain Marvel's ship around, jumping on it, and Captain Marvel gets on to the helm to pilot it, and they're taking a massive L. So all of the enemy ships are chasing them. It's got to be like 10, 20 of them, and Captain Marvel's like, I got this. And Monica Rambeau's like, no, we don't. We got to jump away. We got to do a jump point and bounce. Nah. So it's tension. Then Miss Marvel does the jump point, and they go right through it and get put somewhere else. And Miss Marvel's thing was, I had to do something because we had to make sure that she didn't get the other bracelet. I made a hard call like you did now, referencing, I made a hard call like you did on such and such planet with the Skrulls. And it's like, okay, that's another movie. We're getting another movie where another version of this film where Miss Marvel had a conversation with Carol Danvers, had that moment that I was talking about where sometimes you got to make the hard calls as a hero, and she's trying to learn from what Captain Marvel's trying to tell her. We had a moment in another version of this film that just didn't exist in this film. So she's referencing a moment that doesn't exist in the plot. And Captain Marvel's like, oh, don't tell me that XYZ, right? So they're on some field in some planet. Now again, breaking the universe, because when you do the jump points, it's calculation, and you have to fly to a jump point. They jump pointed while they were in the atmosphere of a planet. So you're telling me there are jump points on planets now? When any and every other time, the jump points are fixed positions that we have to get to for the jump point to be able to open so we can use it. And we have to get to a specific jump point to take us to a specific place. And if we need to get far away, then we have to take a series of them to get us to where we want to go. But somehow, because we need to get them out and we need to put them somewhere so they can have a specific kind of conversation, we've got to edit this a certain kind of way, do a reshoot, or in the reshoots, make it that they get out of the situation by just making a jump point, and it just happens. We just wave it away. Even though it breaks the lore. Even though it breaks the mechanic of how the jump points were set up. Because in Guardians of the Galaxy, there were points where Rocket was like, oh man, the nearest jump point is too far. Like, we're not going to have time. It's a thing. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so they end up on this planet. They're, on some kind of field. It's indescript. They don't tell us where. And so they have a whole conversation about, we got to figure out what to do. We got to go take the fight to her. We got to this, we got to that. She was going to get the other bangle. It was a whole thing. At this point, do they talk to him again? They talk to Fury? I don't remember. Oh, and then a little earlier in the film, Fury inexplicably brings her family, Kamala's her name, Miss Marvel's family, up to Saber. So they have a whole conversation that was cute. It was cute. It was, the mother and the father and the brother are like, you need to come home, and Captain Marvel was like, we'll protect her, we'll bring her back, etc. So they end up taking the fight to Darben, because Darben's next target is Earth, they surmise, even though I feel like Captain Marvel would have had so many dealings over many years with many different planets. Because remember, Captain Marvel 1 took place in the 90s. So we have the 90s to like 2009 in Iron Man 1, or the 90s all the way up until 2013 or 14 for Infinity War, where everybody gets snapped and Nick Fury uses his beeper to call her. And it's like, in all that time, she only dealt with these 3 planets that are sentimental to her? Again, logic. Doesn't make sense. So they surmise that it's gonna be Earth, and so they head over to Earth. They meet up with Fury. Hey, yeah, what's up? Oh, Darben's gonna be coming to Earth. We gotta get ready, but we gotta get ready to do what we gotta do. Before they got there, if I'm not mistaken, right? Before they got there, Darben had already pulled up and opened up a portal because she wants to take Earth's sun. I don't know what's happening outside, but it's on me. She wants to take Earth's sun, and it just makes no sense. Sucking the water out of a place doesn't make any sense to put it onto your planet. Sucking the air to try to make your atmosphere breathable doesn't make any sense, science-wise. And what do you do? So she did a portal, unstable portal, by the sun, and is sucking the fire of the sun through the portal. Where is that going? That fire can't feed their dying sun to get the fusion reaction to keep going. If I'm not mistaken, it's fusion, not fission. I could be wrong. Like, that part it didn't even show us where that fire was going. It was just like sapping away a line of fire into the... Zero sense. So when she creates the portal, it creates a shockwave and messes up Saber. So it messes up their thrusters or their systems or whatever, and the escape pods are all messed up except for like 1 or 2 escape pods. And so when Captain Marvel and the rest of the gang get there, they're already on DEFCON 1 trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do. But at this point, Kamala's mom sees Goose while there and during the movie and says Goose is getting fat. The cat is getting fat. What are you feeding her? And then these little like purple organism things are showing up all around the ship. They think that is it an infestation? Is it a thing? We got to figure out what these are. So by the time they get there, the gang to Earth, to Saber space station. They had come up with the thing. One of them had hatched, and it turns out to be little baby Flurkins, and Moose/Goose it just had babies. Which, thanks for not. The movie didn't bother to let us know physiology. Didn't bother to give us a line regarding Goose is about time to start giving offspring. So I gotta find a place for Goose to be while I do this mission. Like, they could have given us throwaway lines, and then she couldn't do it because of what was happening, and Goose ended up there, and then that happened. We could have got things to fix this, basically. And so, but we have what we have. It doesn't make any sense. So now we have all these Flurgans, and for those who don't know what Flurgans are, they look like cats, but they're not really cats. They are often used as storage containers because inside of their stomachs, some iterations, it's that inside of their stomachs is the doorway to another dimension. So they're able to eat things, swallow things, and keep them and regurgitate them again. So Goose does that in the film. So now we have a whole lot of little kittens that are Flurgans that can do that same thing. So at this point, they're trying to figure out how to get off of Saber, how to evacuate all of the crew. Our gang gets there. It's pandemonium. What the heck is going on? The girl's coming. Darban, she already made the portal. She's taking the sun. And then they have the idea, Flurgans, a whole bunch of Flurgans. We only have 1 or 2 escape pods. We can't fit 300, 400 people onto escape pods. So if we get the Flurgan kittens to swallow the crew, we can fit whatever 30 or 20 Flurgans kittens onto one escape, and we can get everybody out. And then just have the kitten Flurgans spit them out. Now, it doesn't make sense because Flurgans tend to just do what they do, at least as they've been shown. Goose kind of just does what Goose does. We don't have a way to communicate with Goose. Captain Marvel doesn't have a way of like some kind of language or some kind of something, because this isn't a cat, it's an alien. It's an organism of people from another planet. So it's weird that then somehow the kittens get the message to just start swallowing everybody. We never get that. It's just hand waved. Oh, they're gonna swallow everybody. We came with the idea and they're just gonna do it. When we don't know how to communicate with them to get them to do what we want. Doesn't make sense. So they ended up swallowing everybody. Another great moment in the film, because they use the music from one of my favorite, if not my number one favorite Broadway musical, Cats. For those who don't know, fun fact, Cats is my favorite. It's a weirdo musical, but it is my favorite. And they play Memories. And play it like a little bit of a horror element, where people are running away from the Flurgans and getting swallowed up and all that jazz. And it's great, because then by the end of it, they hit with the theme at the end of Memories. And all the cats, oh man, I love it. I love it. It's amazing. It hit me. That moment hit me. But that was a cool moment, played in a cool way. And so, they get the Flurgans and all the things. They get them on the escape pods. Everybody leaves. Kamala's family goes. And Kamala's family had wanted her like, no, come down to Earth with us. You gotta get thing. And Kamala's like, Miss Marvel is like, listen, this lady is gonna mess up the fabric of the universe the more that she keeps opening these unstable jump points. Because Monica had referenced that earlier, but not that she's gonna mess with the universe too much. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about how unstable the fabric of the universe could potentially become. So this is also probably explained in a different version of the film. She's like, if the universe is in trouble, that means that you guys are in trouble, and I'm not going to lose you guys, so I've got to defend the universe. And they were like, okay, we get it. Come back to us. Be a hero. And the mother was like, but I'm always going to, love you. I'm always going to I don't want to lose you. And then they tell Nick Fury their plan. They're just going to go fight this girl and beat her up. And Nick Fury's like, you guys sure that you want to bring her the bracelet? To bring Miss Marvel? And they're like, we got this. So they go to this lady's ship, fight her head on. I mean, beat this girl down. Like, this is another really cool, probably the cooler moments of them fighting with the switching and actually being effective and just brucking this lady up. Darben got beat up, just overwhelmed, and to the point that this thing fell on her while they were fighting on her ship and stabbed her through. So it was like she was done. And And Captain Marvel was like, yo, like, we're not going to kill you. We don't want to kill you. Just give us the bracelet. And the bracelet, I think, is separated from her, or her hammer is separated from her and from Dar-Benn. And it's like, yo, we don't have to end it like this. We could turn around. We could think, like, I'm sorry about Hala. I'm sorry for what I did and being annihilated. You're right. I really messed up. Like, trying to take accountability. And then Monica Rambeau's like, yo, you could. She comes up with the idea, oh, your powers, you can reignite their son. And Hala's son. And Carol Danvers was like, I could do that? Like, I didn't even know that I could do that. I don't know that I have that ability. Yeah, it's worth a try. You could do it. You just got to power up. Out of nowhere. Out of thin air. Now, all these years, somehow Carol Danvers has been guilty or felt guilty about what happened with Hala, and she hasn't tried to do that. She hasn't tried other technologies. She hasn't, nothing. So now all of a sudden, oh, I could maybe try to do that. Doesn't make any sense. It's brain dead. And so, the brain dead hero. This is supposed to be a hero. Brain dead. And so, and not just a hero, she's supposed to be really smart. Because to be Air Force, because she's Air Force, to get in the Air Force, you got to be smart. For my military people, they give you a lot of tests and they only take the youngest or the brightest or the whatever to be in the Air Force. And she was like R&D test pilot in the Air Force, piloting a new type of prototype jet that this other Kree woman was, or Skrull woman, I guess they made it, had developed to give them this kind of technology, advanced technology, way back in whatever early 90s or whatever it is, late 80s. So she's smart. Carol Danvers is supposed to be intelligent, militaristically, strategically, etc., and just brain dead for the first movie and for this movie. Just no logic here. And so she's like, oh yeah, I can ignite the sun. And then she looks to Dar-Benn, who's stabbed through and on the ground, looking defenseless and weak and vulnerable. She's like, oh, we can do it for Hala. We won't kill you, we won't think. Let's just go back to Hala and fix Hala. Like, we could try to do it. So then the lady is like, Dar-Benn is like, oh, for Hala. So then they lift the thing up off of her, and she immediately grabs her hammer, immediately grabs Miss Marvel, immediately puts her under the hammer to kill her, to get the bracelet. Just quick turn. Like, wow, okay. So somehow it's some kind of crazy vendetta against Captain Marvel, which she shouldn't have, because it's really her people's fault. It's really the Kree's fault why their planet is the way it is. No one told them, in efforts to try to take control of the planet, XYZ factions or faction decided to mess up the water of the planet, decided to mess with the air of the planet. Like, come on, y'all. It's like y'all had nuclear war or something and messed up y'all whole atmosphere. That's on y'all. That's not on Captain Marvel. Again, doesn't make sense. So they give the lady the other bracelet. She finally has it, and now she's gonna power herself up or whatever. And I mean, I don't even really know what she was trying to accomplish at that moment, because it was already, the portal was already opened, or she opened another one. Like, she was already like pulling the sun. So it's very weird at this moment what happens, because then she like powers herself up with the bracelets, and Monica Rambeau tells her, like, it's going to be too much power. You're not going to be able to. Her body's not going to be able to handle it. But at no point in this film, besides maybe the time when Dar-Benn II talks about, we're powering up the bracelet, let's wait a little bit so that we can make sure that it's safe to use. At no other time was it that the bracelets had inherent powers or gave an inherent like energy ability to the user. Because Captain Marvel used it or wore it, and it wasn't like an energy thing in terms of putting energy into the person. It was something that was used in Miss Marvel, the series, as a way to manipulate light, not to put power into you. So all of a sudden now, it's putting power into her. Again, probably a tidbit from a different movie different version of this movie that was filmed that they explained that. So I'm saying, it breaks lore, it breaks the internal consistency. when the internal consistency of your world that you create, whether you're writing, whether you're filming, which has to do with writing because you're writing a script, you create a world. If you create a world where the internal mechanics are consistent throughout, and then at the end decide to break all of the internal mechanics so that you can have whatever you wanted to have happen without a proper reason for that to happen, someone's hyper powerful so they don't exist inside of the mechanic, etc., you degrade that journey. You degrade that story. You pull your reader, you pull your viewer out of it. Your viewer who's paying attention to the lore, to the mechanics of your world, they get pulled out of it. And it's like, well, where did this come from? I thought I was tracking and understanding how the world worked up to this point. Now you're telling me the way that you set up the world to work now is not gonna work that way for a reason that isn't logical. So that's what's happening here. Now the bracelets are putting power into her, and she gets so powered up that it ends up destroying her and her body. And in her destruction, it opens up a jump point, or what looks like a jump point, but it's not really a jump point. What it ends up becoming is a doorway into another universe. It's one of the other universes, multiverse, doing the multiverse thing. Which Monica alluded to earlier in the film, that it keep on opening up unstable jump points, and it can weaken the fabric of the universe, weaken the borders of the universe. Because the jump point network that was created with both of, so the lore behind the bangles, or the lore behind the bracelets that we get in this film, is that both of the bracelets were used in conjunction to create the jump point network throughout the galaxy. Now some people are like, oh, the Kree created the jump point. It doesn't seem like it was actually the Kree, because Kamala's bracelet comes from, or what we learn in this film is called a cosmic band, which is weird to me that it's called a cosmic band, because in the Marvels, it seems like that it's alluded to that the band, the bracelet, comes from Kamala's people who are from another dimension, or who fled to another dimension, and they're these light people. So then it would stand to reason that when these light people were in our dimension, lived in our universe, they used these things, whatever millions and billions of years ago, to create the jump points. They wielded these kinds of weapons. They wielded these kinds of artifacts. But it murks up the waters in this film. Call it a cosmic band. Oh, cosmic bands. Because then it seems like Captain Marvel is talking about the Kree used it, or it was a legend. They were legends that they were used to create the network. But then we didn't get Kamala adding the other part of that story where, yeah, it was my people that did that. And it's a legend because they dwindled fighting amongst themselves, etc., in many wars, and then the remainder of them left and forged a city in a different dimension. Like, we could have got cool lore there, but no, we got none. So that at least, for people who didn't see the show, we would get a little bit of there was cool elements to the show. No one watched it. I watched it. There were some really cool elements to that show. It wasn't, it wasn't a home run, but it was mid. It was mid, and with some good moments, good lore bits. And so our heroes don't even get to defeat the villain. The villain defeats themselves. I don't know if it was a political thing. I don't know if it's some kind of political agenda. Oh, girls shouldn't fight against each other. They should not defeat a girl villain, and beat her up and kill a girl villain. Like, I don't know, girl on girl. I don't get it. They didn't even get to defeat the villain and get that kind of closure with the villain, because it seemed like the villain wasn't that bad until then the villain decided in the script that they wanted the villain to be that bad. Strange to me. So again, illogical to me. So she gets blown up, creates a rip in the universe. So they're looking into another universe on the other side of it, and the both of the things are there, and they get the two bracelets, and now Kamala's got both of them. They kind of joined. They're kind of back together. The two sort of twins, the pair is now joined and hasn't been joined in millennia, right? They were separated. And so Kamal was like, oh, these things spent all this time to find me, so I'm pretty hyped. Because she put them on and they were like, are you good? Are you all right? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. So I'm like, how? These were not necessarily, like I said, bracelets. These were not set up in in Miss Marvel show that the bracelet's going to put power into her. So why would we think that she's going to be hurt? Wild. So they're like, okay, Monica's like, that is a rift, and can we just close it like we did before? That is a rip into another universe, etc. So she's going to have to close it, but she needs a whole bunch of power, right? Now, in my mind, my heart of hearts, the way that this lore is set up, the way that this seems to have been set up, is that if these two cosmic bands were the tools that were used to create the Jump Network, I would think it stands to reason that the cosmic bands together have the ability to close up this rift in the universe, in the fabric of the universe. When like powered up to full power, that's what they can do. If they can fold space-time, I'm thinking at full power they should be able to close this up. But Marvel says, nah, we're not going to do that. The story group goes, we're not going to do that. Whatever reshoots had to happen, whether this was part of the original story or whatever it was, nah, we ain't doing that, fam. We need Monica to be gone. So we're going to have Miss Marvel shoot energy from the bracelets into Monica, and then Captain Marvel shoot all her full power into Monica to power her up, and then Monica is going to go to the rift on the other side through it to then close it up. This dude, Other Joe, on the Angry Joe Show, which is a cool channel, y'all should check it out. In their review, he made a funny joke like, "Oh, her powers are pushed; they're not pulled," because she shoots beams out of her hands, and it's multiple prongs, and then it like closes it up, like folds it in like that. But from the other side, so like, "Oh, her powers are pushed, not pulled," because we're like, couldn't she have just been on our side of the universe and mended it? So no, she had to be on the other side, so that she could go over, close it, then tell Carol, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to come through to the other side. I have to close it from my end." And so Carol's like, "What the fuck?" basically, and runs up or flies up and is like super like trying to get to her to save her, to pull her through, but it closes up and she can't get to her, and it's like it's mended and it's back to space and regular, nothing's there. And in my mind, I'm like, but if she was able to get to them in the beginning of the movie on Darben's ship from just flying over there, how could she not have gotten to Monica and pull her back through? She can go super fast, like superhuman flash fast. Especially, and I didn't even talk about this, at the end of Captain Marvel 1, when she does her little like Superman like fly thing, and she's with the ship. For those who remember that film, most probably don't. There's the Skrull like ship with still refugees on it, and she's gonna go with them to help them find a home at the end of Captain Marvel 1. And she's in space, gives a thumbs up, and then turns around and shoots into what looks like hyperdrive into the horizon, shoots into space in an instant. And I'm like, okay, if she's that fast, why couldn't she go and grab Monica? Why wasn't that a thing? Because they need Monica to be in a certain place to set up a certain thing. Illogical. Like, you don't want to set stuff up, set it up and make it make sense. Like y'all did in the Infinity Saga. Y'all set stuff up and y'all made it, for the most part, y'all made it make sense. It had only very minor cracks in it. And very few. This is like gaping holes, plot holes in the overarching story that they're trying to tell / set up that seems to be existent but non-existent. I mean, Marvel's just, everything is messed up, everything is screwed up. So the ending of this film is Captain Marvel sad. They end up going back to the surface of the Earth. You know, everything is good. They never say how they close the jump point for that's taking the sun. They never say that they never say how they fix the water planet. They never say how they fix the other planet with the air being sucked from it. Never say anything about it. We just forget about it. And so they end up back on Earth. Kamala's sad. Miss Marvel Everybody's hugging her, but then she's like crying, and then she tells this dude, Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, that we lost Monica. Sam Jackson is like sad. And then they cut to Monica Rambeau and Maria Rambeau's house, and it seems like Captain Marvel is moving into the house. Moving herself in to live in the house. Then they have a really some cute moments with Miss Marvel's family helping her move into the house, which is weird because Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel. She could use all of her powers and go super fast and do all of this smack click. Strange. So there's a plane that's on the property. Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel go to the plane because Miss Marvel's like, oh, does it still fly? They go into it. Yeah, come on. I'm thinking they're going to go flying and then they're going to have a conversation. Absolutely not. They get into it somehow. The doors open when, there are keys to doors for planes, prop planes. Opens it, goes into the plane and goes, oh, I don't have the keys. Oh, I actually don't. Why did we do this whole thing to get in this plane if you don't have the key? Like what? That didn't make sense to me. It irked me. And then they have a moment where they're like, oh, well, when Monica comes back, then we'll fly it. Okay, when Monica comes back. And then she leaves, and they're like, where did she go? Why is she gone? Captain Marvel, is going to fulfill a promise. So then we see Captain Marvel go, just at the beam of light, go to Hala and fly into their sun, and power herself up to reignite their sun. And we see Hala seeing the dawning of a new day, and Captain Marvel, up in space, like finished doing what she was doing and like looking down, super glowing and stuff, and then flies away. And that's the end of the film. The post-credit scenes or the ending scenes of it are Miss Marvel breaking into Kate Bishop's apartment. Kate Bishop, for those who don't know, is Hawkeye's understudy, Hawkeye's partner. She is young, and is training her, etc. in his show Hawkeye, which y'all should go see. That one's a pretty good one. They're all mid, but they're pretty good. I liked seeing Hawkeye, the continuation of Hawkeye's story. It was a good continuation. It was a good ground level story, and so she sneaks into this. She breaks into there with a little laptop thing. And Kate Bishop shows up, and they basically have Miss Marvel act like Nick Fury in where she's trying to put together a team of girls only, like a girls only Avengers, like a girls only squad. So that's a thing. A lot of people didn't like that. It's fine. There's precedent for it. It's like it's called the A-Force or something like that. Like it's not that serious. And then the other one is Monica Rambeau is still alive in the other universe. She wakes up seemingly in a hospital, sees her mom, is like, oh my gosh, mom. And the other lady's like, mom, okay. And so it's not really her mother, but it looks like her mother. She's in another universe. And then what happens? Beast from the X-Men shows up. And this is the Beast from the 90s cartoon era, from the 90s era Beast. What they did, I don't know if it was a mixture of live action body CG head, but it was definitely CG, and they used Kelsey Grammer, who played the role of Beast in the Bryan Singer X-Men trilogy, which was a really cool take on Beast. I get that he's kind of old, the actor Kelsey Grammer. So I don't think he would want to be in prosthetics like he was back then. But his voice is great. It's the quintessential Beast voice. Beast shows up in his lab coat, like, oh man, we got a thing. She seems like she's an anomaly, etc., etc. And then Monica Rambeau's like, oh man, looks at the camera, and then we pull out and we see that she's somewhere in the depths of the X Mansion for the X-Men. So that's going to be a thing. So we're going to see what the deal is with that. But it seems like this whole movie was just to set up those two scenes, because now my ending of this is that this film, as I said before, is indicative of the sweatshopification, the mechanization, like the factory just churning out content in order to make money. Infinite growth every quarter. The money, the suits, the number crunchers don't really care about whether the universe or whether what's being put out is a quality product, as long as it's making, $1 billion. Keep going. Marvels did, Avengers 1 did good, make another Avengers. Yeah, but we got to set up, oh no, we don't care, make another one. Like that. We don't care, just make it happen. So we lose quality over time because we sacrifice the quality over the quantity of product. So in order to hyperdrive production, we've got to have 5 or 6 productions going on at the same time, and it's very easy then for them to not communicate in the way that they need to, because they're not being planned out in the way that they need to be, so that the universe, the fabric of the universe that we're trying to create, the tapestry, is a complete tapestry and not a tapestry that has holes in it that have to be patched up later, which is what they were trying to do. Trying to patch certain things up after the fact, after they messed up with Doctor Strange. That was after they messed up with Quantumania. There's a lot of mess ups. So they gotta patch it. They gotta figure out how to make it work. And as far as I could tell, Loki season 2 is a whole patchwork of just patching up the tapestry to shore it up and maybe get them to a point where if they wanted to pivot away from the Kang storyline, they can now do so effectively. That's the gist that I'm getting from from season 2. I haven't seen it, but that's the impression. But yeah, when you do factory, you get a quantity, a lot of it, but you don't get quality, and you risk oversaturating the market. And some of that has existed. Some of the cause of Marvel seeming like it's mid is oversaturation in the market. A larger percentage of the problem is the system, is the Disney system. There's not quality control. The story group is not solid. We don't have people running the story group or in the story group that love these characters. It seems like they're more concerned with pushing a certain kind of agenda, more concerned with pushing certain genders, more concerned with presenting their agenda in a specific kind of way to a specific kind of demographic that seems to be a minority, but it seems like the agenda is trying to be pushed to turn the minority into the majority in the next generation. That's what it seems, especially when you look into Bob Iger and him very clearly saying that he has political aspirations. And he's really sort of involved, word on the streets, he's involved a lot in political things going on. So it would make sense or stand to reason in theory that a lot of what's happening with Disney and Disney creations and Disney cartoons and Marvel and Star Wars, it has to do with appeasing a certain side of the political spectrum, maybe to gain brownie points with them. You know what I'm saying? Maybe to engender a sense of goodwill with that side of a political spectrum, instead of trying to stay apolitical, instead of trying to present just great stories that will shape generations of people with integrity and so on. Instead of creating that escapism, being that escapism, which is what Disney was before, being that escapism, and what Marvel Comics was, being that escapism from what's happening in the real world, so we could take a deep breath and we could sit down and we could take a break and just take a respite. Disney, and by extension Marvel, and by extension the Star Wars IP, just more and more have seemed to have intensified more and more their desire to push an agenda and present characters in a specific kind of way at the expense of other characters, when the universe could just live, just let it live, and it's gonna think. Marvel franchise, as a franchise, Marvel Studios should be printing money. They should have continued to print money after Endgame. But it seems like, and my theory is, I think I said it in the last episode, it seems like in theory that Kevin Feige masterminded and planned out the whole of the Infinity Saga, right? For the most part. I'm sure there was certain things that he had to pivot on over time as things shaped. But he had a general plan for 10 years of films. I mean, there were people talking about in his office, it was like 360, a timeline around his whole office of what he wanted to accomplish around the walls of his office. And so he poured out his love, his sweat and tears, being the curator of this sort of experiment to create this shared cinematic universe, right? Really, it really being his baby. And James Gunn comes on, and wins over the corporate, wins over Feige, to get the job or the privilege of being able to run and develop the cosmic side of these heroes, of this world, and to great effect. To great effect, because it's really good. Guardians setting up how the universe looks at large it was great. What James Gunn did, the style is great. It worked. So loving on these films. Then you get the Russos who took these things so seriously and are really good at ensemble films. And Joss Whedon was really great at the ensemble films. To curate everything as the head guy, get to run us all the way up to the bookend of the Infinity Saga. So I think he got all the way there, did what he wanted to accomplish, like Thanos looked over a universe that has now been kept safe, in bliss, sitting on his farm, accomplished it. And then Disney said, because during that time Disney bought the Marvel Studios. During that time, they became a studio during that time as well. So by the time we get to Endgame, or Endgame is done, and we get Captain Marvel in between Infinity War and Endgame, Captain Marvel, I think, is the first representation of the corporatization or the Disney machine now being applied to Marvel Studios. And I think Kevin Feige might have been keeping that at bay. It might have been okay, Disney, you bought us, we are Marvel Studios, but let us rock with how we do things, because we've been making billions of dollars already before you purchased us, until we finish this saga. Then, like, Kevin Feige's like, let me finish this saga, and then Disney, I'll let y'all tell me what to do. And I think that's what Captain Marvel 1 represented. Because when Captain Marvel 1 came, it was so out of... It seems to have been created out of pocket, like out of character, for how Marvel films were created. That's where you get the real, like, niche, inexperienced director that the studio can boss around and tell them what to do and tell them how to do it. The writers that are inexperienced, that the studio will boss them around and tell them what to do, what to put in there, how to rewrite it. Tell the directors how to do their job, what they want in the film, etc. We didn't quite get that before. Now Disney, or Marvel I should say, were very much outside of Disney, had a reputation already of being very much so curative, I don't know. But they were very much so, Kevin Feige was involved in so many different aspects and would really sift through and break down and say, okay, we got to change this, would really be involved in the process of making the film, all of the films, even before Disney, even before Captain Marvel 1. But the difference with Captain Marvel 1 is that we start getting politicization of a superhero. That's the first time we get a politicization by the studio, like heavy-handed, for a specific hero, because Captain Marvel was marketed in a very gender-biased way, which it didn't need to be. Just present her as a hero. She's a woman. Write a good character, like Ridley Scott did for Ripley in Aliens. Just write a good character. Come up with the gender later. Like, just write a character that people will connect with. It doesn't matter if the character is a woman or a man. And Ridley Scott made Ripley a woman and said, this will be great. This is going to look wonderful visually. We got Sigourney Weaver, it's going to be great. But he focused on making a great character first and then build out everything else. And with Captain Marvel, it seemed like we want a girl power boss B. You feel me? A boss B. At any cost. Just make that happen. And so I think that was Disney. I think Disney said, we want a girl power boss B. Because remember, at that point, they were not creating, they were still kind of haunted in this idea of Hollywood of not necessarily, or making, pausing doing a female-led Marvel film. Because we didn't get a Black Widow movie, which we should have. Because they're a little tepid in terms of what the box office might be for that. And I understand from the standpoint of it's a challenge, or corporate thinking that it's a challenge to write a good female character. But again, they're not the arts people, they're the number crunchers. When you leave it up to the number crunchers, when you leave it up to corporate to make art, it tends to be trash and corny and basura and just not make sense. Which was wrong-headed, because at that point, Wonder Woman, the first one, had already made mad money. Everyone went to see that. That movie was good. I mean, it had its problems, but it was good. And we've had lady heroes that we all look up to, that we all love. But again, the perspective should have been, let's just create a great character that people can get behind, and then make it a woman later. But think good character, think great plot, think great story, think strong character. Not because I'm a woman, girl power. When you lead with that is when you start, you run the risk. It becomes easier to get into certain corniness. It becomes easier to get into the weeds. Now, I think it's not necessarily it wasn't a problem for Disney Marvel, because it was their intention to put Captain Marvel 1 out in the state that it was in. It seemed like the script had not been drafted enough. It was a bad script, just wasn't good. It wasn't good writing. Thusly, the plot was trash. You had directors, a duo, husband and wife duo of directors that didn't direct very well. They had an Oscar winner or Oscar nominated actress at that time in Brie Larson. Didn't direct them very well. They had Sam Jackson, decorated actor, didn't really do him real well. They had a few other really great actors there, and just the material that they were given was trash. And it's like, well, how do you go from Infinity War, great film, to this movie, very out of character? Why are we releasing basically a Thor the Dark World level movie, if not worse, because I think Captain Marvel 1 is worse, but a Thor the Dark level movie, which is Thor at that point was considered the worst Marvel film, the trashiest one. How did we get Thor the Dark World, then get bangers after that? Because then we get Captain America Captain America Winter Soldier, we get Civil War, we get Ant-Man. That didn't do too well at the box office, but people still were cool with Paul Rudd being Ant-Man. Like, they liked the character, but it's just, it was sort of a boring, not boring, but it represented a more ground level hero. So we went from this big espionage shield wanting to create AI that eliminated threats in the future, a pre-crime thing, to then like this real super ground level. So people didn't quite it wasn't intending to super connect with the bigger story. So it was very standalone. We get Ant-Man, we get Ant-Man 2, we basically learned to not do a Thor the Dark World again. So we ramped, get Infinity War, going into Endgame, and we make a Thor the Dark World again. So to me, that screams intentionality. And then we advertise it as hero. Like, we change hero to be hero. Like, why did we need that? Could she have just been a hero? Because it's he-ro, so they're always masculine. So hero, like, no one says that. That didn't jump into the lexicon. But that was the whole ad campaign for Captain Marvel. It was very political, and could serve with such heavy-handedness to alienate the main consumer base of the MCU, of the cinematic universe, which are boys. And it's like, they thought, or they must have thought, at least the number crunchers must have thought, in Disney, must have thought, oh, hey, we'll get the girls to come to the cinema because of this movie, for this character. Instead of just, again, making a cool character, doing cool things with a great plot that can get us to identify with the character. And that does not mean that character has to be a man, because it's worked out over the history of action thrillers that there are plenty of strong lady characters that we love. as men we love, as boys we love, we look up to, that show us what integrity looks like, that show us what true strength looks like, and inner strength and emotional strength and mental toughness looks like from women characters. They focused on I'm a woman, hear me roar, instead of I am a person, a human, who's in extenuating circumstances, and I'm a girl, I'm a woman. When you lead with I'm woman, hear me roar, instead of make a really good character and make it a woman. Let it be a woman. You run this kind of risk. But like I said, it wasn't accidental. Captain Marvel 1 is, to me, is that marking point of Disney now, or Kevin Feige having given Disney that limit. Let me finish my saga the way that I want to finish it, because I've proven that my leadership and my guidance has, it brings in money. It will make y'all billions of dollars, and it did. So let me finish it, and then Kevin Feige said, Captain Marvel can be the start, and then we could go by your system, and we could do it how y'all want to do it, and to put whatever agenda y'all want to put in it. But let me just do this. Let me put this feather in my hat, and then we're good. I'll do whatever you want me to do, as long as the check's clear. Because it has to be that, because it makes zero sense that after Captain Marvel 1, slash after Endgame, because everybody wants to say after Endgame, but I don't count that. I think it's after Captain Marvel 1. Because Captain Marvel 1 is supposed to represent the beginning of a hero that was meant or intended to take the universe into its next direction, into its next phases, into its next steps. So, because she was intended to be a core character like Captain America and Iron Man. Black Panther was expected to be a super core character. Spider-Man was supposed to be a super core character too, that were taking the reins into the next, because most of our main core characters, their contracts were coming up, they didn't want to continue going, or they were getting paid so much money that Marvel Disney didn't want to keep trying to afford to have the actors there, which is the case of Robert Downey Jr. His Iron Man character was let go of, was done, because Robert Downey Jr. was making like $75 million. I think Endgame, his take was $75 million, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point, because he had been in so many movies and renegotiating for more, he was getting points on the ticket sales, and he was getting back-end merchandise and DVDs and everything. He was getting points on that. So they were like, we can't have him in another movie because we're not going to be able to afford him. We're going to have to pay him $100 million if we put him in another movie and give him back end and maybe give him a producing credit, like at this point. So they were like, nah, you're gone. We have to replace. We have to, swap out. So she was meant to be that. Brie Larson came in, I expect, raring and happy and hopeful that she was going to be the next Iron Man. And she got shafted. So yeah, y'all, this movie was a hodgepodge. Marvel is now, rightfully so, and Disney are circling the wagons because this agenda that they're peddling, or I should say, the perspective that Disney has been running on with this sort of sweatshop mentality of running their IPs that should be printing their money into the ground and not caring, just going, make it better. Creatives, artists, visual effects artists, just make something good, and blaming them instead of blaming their own system, and their own pressure. It's finally come to roost, and they're circling the wagons, and they should be, because we need to get a year of the story group being completely wiped out, hiring new people, not even really doing a story group, getting Kevin Feige to come in and do what he did with Infinity Saga. Plan it out to get it to work and to get it to all harmoniously sync up. Because they try to do TV, and even there, they wanted to sweatshopify the process. They didn't want to go by the tried and tested and the tried and true process that network television goes on, and most television does, where you have an idea, you green light it, you do a pilot so that you can get a proof of concept, see what has to be changed, what has to be tweaked, what has to be worked on, and then if it works and it looks like it works and it's a great idea and it looks like it could be done in a proper way and be interesting and test well, then we'll give you the full funding and you'll do the rest. They didn't want to do it like that. They just said, make this film and make it good. No, not a whole lot of oversight, not a whole lot of places where someone is really curating the story across all of these different properties, all these different plot threads. So they've learned. So they're going to go back to they're going to go to the TV process so that they don't waste all this money like they have been doing, billions and billions of dollars that they wasted over the past 10 years, and billions and billions of dollars that they've lost over the past 10 years because they thought out of hubris, Disney, that they could just throw money at the problem when they sweatshopped their content from Marvel. They made Marvel have to churn out content in hyperdrive and basically screwed over their own product, screwed over their own the own market viability of a product that should be making them millions and billions of dollars. That's almost unlimited in terms of the amount of IP that's within it and that can be generated. So they're rightfully so circling the wagons after this flop of a film. It had to flop hard, because it did, it flopped hard, for corporate to get it. And to go, yeah, maybe we need to just let Feige do what he needs to do. Let him work his magic, because we kind of messed this up. And then Feige, who's just been cashing checks and not really curating everything, not really doing the job with the intensity or within the way that he had been doing it with his saga. I'll say that, with his baby, the Infinity Saga. Now they need to go, dude, we need you to come back and to own these sagas and do what you need to do for the next saga, because we came in to kind of boss you around and you were fine with it as long as the check's clear. You didn't care because you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish as the first producer or first whatever to be able to do this gargantuan task. We need you now to do it the way that you had done it before. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I hope so, at least, because I want these movies to succeed. And then let me just backtrack for 2 seconds. I really wanted this movie to do well. All those moments that I spoke about in my breakdown of the film that I really liked, these moments where these three ladies interacted with each other in different ways, just away from the action, I was hyped for those moments because I really wanted to see and experience and believe that we don't have enough of it in cinema, let alone, well, not in cinema, but I guess in Marvel movies. I'll say that specifically. I'll be specific about it. Where we get to kind of see a little bit, we got a little peek. I was hoping that they would go deeper. We got a little peek into how a feminine hero processes or would process things. How like we can put sort of that feminine side, we can display the feminine side of heroics and the mental and the mentals and the emotionality of what that looks like. And I was interested to see it because I really like the balance. So like in Avengers 1, I liked Black Widow. I liked that there was a woman in that team. Like it makes things better to have lady characters together with men characters on the same team, working together and just getting all the differences in processing with these characters. Like it's just enriching. It's enriching to me. Excuse me. It was enriching in Iron Man 2 when they introduced Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. It was interesting in Avengers 1. It was interesting in Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers 2 with Scarlet Witch. I liked that. That was cool. Even though we didn't get a whole lot of her, but I liked that. So yeah, and even in Infinity War, all of our female characters, all of our lady characters in Black Panther, like I like seeing that sort of, that enriched drama where it's not just the guys having to go at it, the masculine energy, but it's the masculine mixed in with feminine energy and seeing how the feminine energy handles things, how the feminine mind processes things. It's just great. It's fun. without being so like political, without being so I'm woman, hear me roar, like we get everything right, like see we're better than y'all, we're this, we're smarter than y'all. I didn't need all of that, and we didn't get that, in my opinion, in the Marvels. We didn't get that in Black Panther 1, we didn't get that in Black Panther 2. It seemed like, even though Riri Williams is she's a little trash. That's another, as a character. That's another, the actress is nice, is a wonderful person. But the character, as written, which is another episode. But we didn't get that in Black Panther 1 and 2 for the most part. We got a little bit of it. We didn't get that in the Avengers movies, where, or I should say, we got it in those movies, and I just wanted to see more of it. Now I've got 3 hero women on a team together that maybe we can give them some conflict in different ways. We have one that's a whole other age group, whole other generation. I mean, it was ripe for really cool drama, really cool Avengers level comedy, but we had only a few moments that didn't get explored in the way that I think it could have if this film was in capable hands. Well, let me not say that. It's in capable hands, but those hands are tied by a big mouse with a high-pitched voice. It's been hijacked, it's been tied up and thrown into the broom closet, and the mouse has taken over. And I think this is just the product of that. Its failure is the product of that. It's disjointedness, struggling to get it to kind of work, make it work at all costs, instead of just kind of taking the L and going, okay, we'll just not release it. Everybody will get compensated. All of the actors will get their just due. We'll cover them, and just don't put this out because it's almost unwatchable. It's so disjointed in its story. So that at least we won't have a greater blight than Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, a greater blight than the blights that we have already created. They could have just did that, but they didn't. I am thankful, though, that Brie Larson seems to be on the up and up now. I'm very glad for that. I wonder if it was because she had a great experience with Iman Vellani, the actress that played Miss Marvel, and with oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the actress who plays Monica Rambeau? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I just saw her in a bunch of other movies. Oh, yuck. I'm forgetting her name, but maybe they had a great experience together. They all seem like very nice people. I'm subscribed to Brie Larson's YouTube channel. She seems to be nice, trying to connect with us and so on, and help her image after what happened, after the fiasco of Captain Marvel 1 and all that damage. But yeah, so she seems to be on the up and up and wanting to come back, and we're very interested to see where Captain Marvel's going to go. When before this movie aired or got released, before she made the movie, she was on the red carpet at D23 talking about, does anybody want me to come back as Captain Marvel? Does anyone care? With like the face, like, why you ask me that? You know everything that happened and all the hate that I got and how everybody seems like they hate the character. She seems to be up and up and like excited for what's coming next. So I'm glad for that. They should all be getting W's. All these films should be W's because the source material is already a W. Just make it like you did in Infinity Saga. That's all that Feige did, is just made it. They were already W's. So it's, we'll see what Marvel does. But that was my breakdown. Not quite sure how long that we've gone, but it's probably really long. And I hope that y'all stay with me. If y'all didn't, y'all didn't. But for the very few who did stay with me, thank you so much. It's been real. Thanks for vibing out with me. Thanks for being here. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about this film. Let me know what y'all think about Brie Larson and Marvel going forward, and them sort of circling the wagons and pushing all their release dates, all their films, and any of the TV that they're doing into 2025 and taking like a year off. Let me know what y'all think. All right, y'all? So be blessed, be strong. There's so much going on in the world. Take a deep breath. We're going to make it through, all right? All right, deuces.